Richard Sherman's girlfriend is basically 10 months pregnant. And let's bring Joe Adkins in on this. Joe, Richard Sherman's girlfriend is basically 10 months pregnant. There's a chance she goes into labor on Sunday. She goes into labor on Sunday. You're Richard Sherman. You get the news right before kickoff. Let's say 2 hours before kickoff. What do you do, Joe Adkins? What do you do?
Man, that's tough. That is tough.
Mind bender.
Yeah, that's definitely. Boy, I wouldn't want to be Richard Sherman making that decision.
Well, would it screw with your head at all during the game, even if you hadn't heard that news?
I would make sure her parents were there just in case they need to replace me for a little while. So I'll probably plan on playing, but
well, you got to plan on playing.
Great supportive backup for her to make sure it's okay.
Pot him up a little bit. Joe Adkins with us in Little Cedars Hotline Hotline. That's a tough one. What about you, Todd? What are you doing in that spot?
Oh, I'm playing. Of course, I don't have kids either, so I've never dealt with a pregnant girlfriend or wife, so I'm playing.
That's why we value Joe's opinion on this a little bit more than you.
One of my buddies, when his first child was born, I think he was driving his girlfriend at the time a little crazy, and she said, "Why don't you just leave?" In one of those hormonal rages. And he said, all right. And he went to the Y and played some basketball while his child was being born.
Wow. Holy moly.
Never heard the end of it either, so yeah.
I would imagine. Joe, all right, I want to get to Bedlam here in just a second, but when people start to freak out to you about the Thunder, your response to them is what?
Relax. I mean, I never freak out over one game. Anytime you're playing 82 or what are they down to, about 45 now or so, I mean, you can be a little concerned because you lose to possibly the worst team in the NBA. But the Lakers beat the Bulls last night, so as I've told people, it's not a shocker that a bad team beats a team that's a playoff team or should be a playoff team in a regular season game in the NBA.
Well, Bulls might be in trouble too.
It's much more uncommon than any other sport.
I mean, that's true, but the Bulls, I don't think anybody's acting like they got their bleeping order right now.
Well, they've been hurt. I mean, they've been injured. I mean,
they've been hurt for 2 years.
Well, the main guy that's been hurt, he's actually playing. Their other guys are hurt now, but they're in the East for one, so they won't finish any lower than 4, but they may be possibly the best team in the East when they're fully healthy. So I don't know if the Bulls, I mean, of course, you're always concerned about seeding because you want to get as many home series as possible, but good teams find ways to win on the road.
Joe, I want to ask you this. We asked Desmond this yesterday, and we haven't got a chance to talk to you since the Thunder lost to the Knicks. Westbrook scored 40 points, was 13 of 30. I think he had 4 assists in that ball game. When the game was over, by the way, 12 of 12 at the free throw line, when the game was over and all was said and done, did you say to yourself, Russell Westbrook played a good game, Russell Westbrook played a bad game, or he played an all-right game?
He was just okay. I thought he was just okay the entire night. The 40 wasn't as much of a big deal. Like you said, he took 30 shots. And then also, when I see he took 30 shots, in the last 5 minutes, he took 8 or 9 of them when they were down. So the stats may be a bit skewed, but that's how he plays anyway. But no, I wouldn't have said that was one of his better games anyway. Had they won that game, that was one of his better games.
How much of a believer are you in Dion Waiters at this point?
About the same as I was. I mean, I paid attention to Cleveland while he was there, so I've seen him. This is kind of where he's been in his career. He's a young guy. I mean, he's going to be up and down. Right now, he's inconsistent, and he's an inconsistent shooter, and he's taking a lot of jump shots. So I just want to see him get to the basket a lot more because that'll help that team in a huge way.
Joe Adkins with us on the Little Caesars Hot and Ready Hotline on 107.7 The Franchise. If, I don't know if we've ever gotten to this point with you in terms of asking you this question. If you took Reggie Jackson off the team, forget who you'd get in return, okay? Forget who you'd get in return. If you took Reggie Jackson off this team, do you think it's addition by subtraction at all?
No. Why would you say that? He's one of the best offensive players they have, and they're not scoring.
Well, because all I hear about is how, the changes have to be made. Changes have to be made. And I'm just wondering, so it would depend, obviously, on who they would get in return for Reggie Jackson. So are you for a trade then? Because you would not get the same value in return based on what Reggie Jackson makes, which is pennies right now.
I'm for a trade if you're going to get something that can help you. If you're going to just get a guy out the locker room and you're trying to compete, he has to be horrific in the locker room for me to just make a trade to get a guy out of here the way they're playing right now. I mean, he was one of there was only two guys that shot 50% the other day, and he was one of them. I thought he played a little better in the past week. He's played a lot better, so maybe he's coming into his own, filling his role. But I don't think you let him go because you're not even getting the consistent scoring with Deion Waiters that you've gotten from Reggie Jackson in the past. So I don't think you can be completely sold on that just yet.
Joe, Zach has talked a lot this morning about the James Harden trade and how Thunder fans, he feels, are still harping on this trade as if something different could have been done. When you think about what could have been with James Harden, are you one that you've turned the page now for the Thunder and it's done and you don't look back and think about what could have been, or do you still think that there was a mistake made in that trade?
I mean, it's not going to change. I thought it was a mistake back then, and I think it's a mistake now, but I don't spend too much time harping on it. I mean, once they're gone, they're gone. It's like you can talk about it and say whatever you're going to say and wish they were back. I mean, they're gone. I mean, and every organization makes possible moves like that where you think you're going to have a chance to better your team. This one was one where you got to kind of look at it because we see the player James Harden has become since he's left the Thunder. So that definitely makes you scratch your head. So when you see the results of how well he's played since he's gone, of course you always have that, man, what if we had him? Because the last time he was on the team, they did make the NBA Finals, so that has to be considered as well.
Do you think James Harden is gone because he wanted out of Oklahoma City? Do you think he's gone because the Thunder screwed something up on their end? Why do you... When you look back on this, why do you feel the reason is that James Harden isn't here?
They didn't pay him his money. I mean, the only reason. Had they paid him what he wanted, he would have took the 4-year deal. Houston, of course, had the max contract, and they could offer another year. So once he didn't get the money he wanted here, you go elsewhere. That's it. That's how this game has been going for years. So now $5 million is not very much money when the guy's leading the league in scoring with 28 points a game.
Yeah, that's and Todd's been saying that's part of the rub where the guy you traded away is now arguably the front runner for most valuable player in the NBA. That hurts. That definitely hurts. There's no doubt about that. My argument has been, that stop bringing it up when they lose to the Knicks. I mean, this has been different, and I understand. Yes, I mean things didn't work out, but I mean you're 2 wins away from being in the exact same spot last year as you were with the James Harden team. You know what I mean? You're 2 wins away. So what are we talking? I mean, we're talking about 2 games?
No, I don't think you're talking about two games. I think you talk about the overall. Had James Harden been on the Oklahoma City Thunder, they probably still get the number 1 seed. With those guys missing, he's able to carry the load of a team. We see that now. So maybe they finish in first, and it changes that whole series. Serge ended up getting hurt, so that took something away from it. But it's a huge difference when you're playing at home and on the road. I mean, the Thunder, they're a much better team when they're playing in the Chesapeake Arena than they are in other venues. I think we agree with that.
Speaking of home versus away, I mean, I got to give the edge to your Pokes this weekend based on that alone.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Good.
I mean, don't you? I mean, I look. They don't lose at home. I mean, that's the one thing about Oklahoma State. Say what you will about, their flaws, but A, almost every team in college basketball has got them this year, and B, I mean, you don't beat them at home. At least nobody has yet, have they?
Not this year. They're undefeated at home, but this will be a tough matchup for those guys. It's a game that you should, that I think because they're at home, they should win. But it's not going to be an easy game. Oklahoma, no matter what, that crowd is going to be extremely fired up. But the matchups with those guys, the problems still remain. So it's not going to be a
which matchup are you most worried about?
Well, the perimeter. OU is just so much bigger than those guys. In Oklahoma State, they're starting in their backcourt 5'10", 5'11", and
well, that's
6'1".
every team. That's every team,
6'1".
Joe.
Well, no,
right, but OU is bigger and shoots over.
Oklahoma has a point guard that's 6'5", so that's not possible. So they have Cousins and they have Hield. Woodard is a cancel out for those guys in size, but those other two guys are just a huge matchup. They were just able to get so many easy looks. So I look for Sean to play a little bit more if Newberry's not playing well, if he's not hitting shots, just to give him more size on the perimeter to cover those guys.
Joe, quickly, I'm sure you got a good Bedlam story for us, don't you?
What you want to hear, when I hit the game winner?
I'm sure that's the one you're going to tell
Take us through that shot, Joe. Take us through that shot. Hey, I want you to twist that knife in OU fans right now. Come on. Tell us about it.
Well, we were at the timeout, and I'm, of course, doing work that night in Lloyd Noble Arena. Lloyd Noble Center, and Coach Sutton looks at me and he says, Joe, what play you want to run? I look at him, I'm like, Coach, I don't know. Just give me the ball. And he says, all right, so Doug, I was just sitting there. He was like, all right, let's just go 1-4 flat then. I look at the guys. I say, game time, fellas. We're getting ready to go home. We run the play. They get it to me. I cross over, get to the middle lane. Fadeaway jump shot at the free throw line. Money. Point to the coaches. Tell them what a great call it was. And we celebrate.
Who'd you cross over?
Hollis Price.
Ooh, that felt good, didn't it? That felt good. Where does that rank? Where does that rank on best?
Doing that, Zach, it really
don't start with that. Where does that rank on best feelings Joe Adkins has ever felt on a basketball court?
Period.
Where does it rank? Is it top 5? Is it top 2?
I would say top 5 just because I'm an Oklahoma guy.
What's number 1? What's number 1?
Probably winning the championship. Is I'll say would be one. Any championship, I'd put those above. But based on just like individual plays that happen, that definitely is up there in the top 5 for sure.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being Nelson Mandela and 10 being a Ku Klux Klan member, how racist is Zach McCrite when he says this, Joe? I was shocked to find out that Kyle O'Quinn is black.
I mean,
because he said that earlier in the show today.
Wait a minute. It sounds like Joe Adkins is shocked to hear that, too. That's news to him.
No, I know who Kyle O'Quinn is. So.
Let's be honest, though. Come on, Joe. That's not racist. That's just.
I knew who he was from college. I mean, well, it's maybe not racist, but it is something because I guess you just heard the name. I mean, I know plenty of black people named Kyle, so I don't.
Yeah, no, it's the combination of Kyle and O'Quinn.
O'Quinn, okay. Well,
is it not? I mean, that maybe it's not to you. I mean, I don't know.
I mean,
that sounds like he.
So what are you going, like 8, like David Duke, or? Are you going like 6, Bill O'Reilly, or where are you going with this?
That's a 0. Joe, it's a 0. Joe, say it, Joe.
Man,
Joe.
I don't know if it's racist, but I mean it's something. So we'll just give you a 3. How about that? We'll give you a 3.
See you later, Joe.
All right, fellas. You have a good weekend.
All right, you too,
Go
Joe. All right, man. Joe Adkins.